Hello guys, it's Tom here from WB Trading, and in today's video I wanted to cover how we can understand win rates in more detail and also dispel a few myths that I hear occasionally about how win rates work and also how important they are. Now I get this a lot off traders who've just started their trading journey, but I also hear the question occasionally from traders that have been, around a while, and it always surprises me because when a lot of traders start out, they see the win rate as the holy grail. They understand that should matter above all else. And absolutely, win rates are important. I'm not trying to dispel that fact. But in general, we can use them in conjunction with some other parameters and see that realistically, win rates are just one part of our trading performance. And we shouldn't overly value them. Now, at this point, you might be thinking, Tom, you've lost your mind. What are you on about? We need a win rate as high as possible. And yeah, okay, absolutely. The higher the win rate, the better we'll be if we're using a very simple one-to-one result for our profitable R. Now, this is where a lot of traders overlook a really important factor of trading that I'm going to get into in this video, and that is what are we looking like in terms of our risk and reward ratio. And in conjunction with the win rate, hopefully I'm going to be able to show you guys how important it is to balance out those two factors and to find the optimal strategy. One final thing before we start today's video, guys. If you're struggling with your trading, or if you'd like to know a bit more about how we trade mechanical edges, we've actually put together a free video course that'll map out and explain everything in detail. It'll walk you through exactly how mechanical rules actually work, and if you'd like to watch that after this video, I'll pop a link in the description. You can click through and you can watch that straight away. Now, let's begin by just going through what is a win rate and what do we mean when we're talking about win rate within our trades. I think this is really important. Some of you may know this already, but let's go through it just very quickly so we can understand what we are referring to when we're talking about win rates in terms of percentages, and also when we're comparing it to our results in terms of trading R, the risk to reward ratio. Put very simply, win rate tells us out of all the trades we've taken, how many of those are wins and how many of those are losses. And we usually look at win rate in a percentage term. So if we're looking at a particular strategy that has a win rate of 50%, that means for every trade we win, we're going to lose a trade as well. So at this stage, if you haven't come across win rate before, hopefully it's fairly obvious that the higher the win rate, the better our results are going to be. And yeah, that's absolutely true. A strategy with a win rate of 80%, in its very most basic terms, will be better than a strategy with a win rate of 40%. Now, on the surface, that understanding is spot on. And yeah, looking at a high win rate is always going to be beneficial for your trading. But here's where I think win rate gets a little too much focus. So let's look at 50%. That is the absolute break-even point. So by default, anything over 50% means we should be profitable, right? Simple maths. Well, it's not that simple actually. And when we're looking at win rate, we also need to look at this term that we refer to as R, the risk and reward ratio in our trades. So let's talk about that and how that factors into win rate. So sticking with this example here and looking at 50%, let's say we take 100 trades, okay? So 50 are wins and 50 are losses. Now, you might think, okay, well, Tom, you've broken even there. And that is true if we have a risk and reward ratio of 1 exactly. What we mean by that is an R value of 1 denotes every time we win a trade, we make as much as if we would have lost the trade. So equal profit and loss. And obviously with a 50% win rate, those 50 wins equal those 50 losses. But what if we had a win rate of, say, 60%? Well, over 100 trades, we've won 60, we've lost 40. If we've got an equal risk and reward, then surely we're profitable. And yeah, you'd be right. So with a simple R value of 1, anything over a 50% win rate is going to make us profitable. So now we've covered what a 1R strategy is going to give us and where we need to be in terms of our win rate. Let's look at the more complex situation where that winning R isn't equal to 1. And this is where we come across the idea that win rate really on its own isn't that important. So let me explain. Let's say that instead of having a win that is of equal size to our loss, let's say the win is twice the size. So we would refer to this as a 2R win. Distance to the profit is going to be double the distance to our stop loss. Now let's keep the same example as we had previously. We're going to use 100 trades and we're going to look at a win rate of 50%. And hopefully you'll be able to quickly see where the differences are when we step this R value up. So as you can see, we still have 50 wins and we still have 50 losses. But before, where on the 1R strategy these cancelled each other out, with a 2R, every win is worth twice as much as every loss. And therefore, even though we have a win rate of 50%, we're actually easily profitable. Let's now take this a step further and we'll continue to use 2R. But what happens if we have a different win rate? So what happens if it's not 50%? And also, how does that compare to if we were going back to looking at examples on just a 1R strategy? Let's start these sections by looking at what happens if our win rate is under 50%. Because that's probably the thing that you're asking right now, Tom. What is going to happen if I have a low win rate? Can I still be profitable? And this is certainly one of the things I wanted to touch on in this video. And I think if we go through a couple of examples, hopefully that will become clear. Now, when we've been covering what R is and how we use R within our trading, you might be getting an idea of how we can use this to basically counteract a low win rate and still have a profitable strategy. But let's see some numbers. So we'll take a couple of the details from examples we've just done and we'll say we have a win rate of, let's go with 40%. And I'm going to compare the results when we're looking at a 1R strategy and a 2R strategy. So firstly, with the 1R strategy, it's fairly simple to see what's happening. We've got a win rate here of 40%, which means that 60 of our 100 trades, if we're using that as a sample size, are going to be losses. Remember, every win of equal size to every loss as part of the 1R strategy rule. And yeah, we're not profitable here. So hopefully fairly straightforward to visualize that. Now let's look at what happens if we use a 2R strategy and compare a 40% win rate. Well, we still have the same number of wins and losses if we're using our sample size of 100 trades. We've got to remember that every win is worth double every loss. And suddenly you can see that this pushes us from a losing position into a winning position. And this is one of the really key things that I think a lot of traders miss when they're looking at win rates. And this is why we want to bring up the idea of not having to overly focus on win rate as being your one target when you're trading. So let's kind of explain in a little bit more detail. So the idea for a lot of traders that a high win rate is the be all and end all really stems from when a lot of traders start out, the one focus they have is to avoid taking any losses. And I can remember I was the same when I started trading. And looking back, I can see that that was kind of a natural instinct. We go into anything if we're looking to make money, not to lose money. And that can be good in a way, but it can get to a stage where it really hampers your trading progress and therefore your trading results. Now I can remember back with my kind of introduction to trading, that was probably the first big hurdle I had to overcome, was the sense that with any strategy, you're going to have to accept losses. They're part of every strategy. They're part of trading. And we can look at losses as totally a negative, which, okay, nobody wants them, as I said, but we can look at them as part of a strategy. And long term, how do we deal with them? And how can we counteract them? Now, there is the approach to say, look, let's just try and increase our win rate as much as possible. But as we've seen with the examples we've been through earlier in the video, we don't have to do that. There is another approach. And this is the approach of looking at how can we optimize our R and balance that against our win rate. And this is something I think a lot of new traders, they really aren't exposed to. They're exposed to win rate. It's a simple concept to understand, but R is something that they miss out on. And, one of the reasons for this video really is to dig into that. And it's something that we dig into in a lot of detail in the course. I think in general, one of the best ways to visually represent how important this combination of win rate and R is with the attached chart, the one that's shown here. So what we can see here is a clear section of where traders are profitable, where they're not, and that break-even line. And as you can see, it's very different on the win rate depending on what R you're using. And in fact, for those high Rs, you can have, I'd say, a fairly poor win rate. Now, in the same way, for most of this video, I've been trying to get you to focus on the idea that win rate isn't that important on its own. I don't want to present the alternative view that, looking at the chart we've just seen, a high R is all that matters. It's all about this balance here. And the very best traders will tell you you need to respect both of those parameters. Now, psychologically, over the years speaking to traders, I've got a lot of traders that I know who really do prefer having a higher win rate. They react badly to losses. They know that. That's maybe a slight weakness in their trading performance, but it happens to a lot of traders. On the other side, a lot of traders I know that are very patient. They'll be happy to sit and wait for those really high R wins, and they understand that they're going to get into a bit of a drawdown. The win rate isn't going to be that great, but long term they know it's the right approach. And on that chart we just saw, there is no absolutely perfect zone. It's very dependent on the strategy, and as I said, a little bit dependent on how the trader is individually. I think it's one thing that you do discover as a trader over time, how good are you at being patient and sitting through those periods of drawdown. And it's really important as well, and this is something that we go through in the course a little bit. As a trader, not just with win rate and R, but in general, not forcing yourself onto a particular style of trading or a strategy. It's finding that approach that's going to be most comfortable for you. To wrap today's video up, really the essence of what I'm trying to capture here in terms of looking at the win rate and R is basically, is there another way that we can approach our trading? Is it solely focused on this win rate aspect that a lot of you newer traders will have come across and you may be focusing on right now, or is there another method? And whether it's with, say, the strategies that we teach, or plenty of other strategies out there that I've come across over the years that really have focused on that high R value. And I think finding that approach, certainly respecting and understanding the role of your R in trading, it is something that I see a lot of traders miss out on. And it's something that we do think is really vital to know. The sooner you know it as a trader, the better. So I'm hoping in today's video that's captured some aspect of trading that you maybe haven't seen before. An area that you think, okay, I can actually take this understanding and this knowledge now to improve a strategy I'm already using. Or just, to give you some idea of those concepts of trading out there that you may not have come across before. Now, as always, thank you very much for watching the video. Hopefully this has been useful. Hopefully it's covered an aspect of trading that you maybe hadn't seen before. As always though, if you do have any questions or you'd like to find out a little bit more about what we do at WB Trading, there are some links in the descriptions. Go and have a look at our workshop. Or if you'd like to book a call with one of the team, we can explain a few aspects of our trading in more detail to you. The links are below. With that being said, guys, thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you on the next video.